Concerning the preschooler years from the age of birth until about 3 to 4 years old, we're going to go over what you should be doing with your child between the kindergarten years 4 and 5. The next reading will go over grades 1 through 4, or K through 4, in regard to spelling, grammar, reading, and writing. When you educate your child at home, you do not have to draw a line between parenting and teaching. Teaching, preparing the child for the 12 formal years of classical education, begins at the birth. The best early teaching that you can give your child is to immerse him or her in a language from the time of birth. Talk, talk, talk. Adult talk, not baby talk. Talk to her while you're walking in the park, while you are riding in the vehicle, while you are fixing dinner. Tell him or her what you are doing while you are doing it. This sort of constant chatter lays a verbal foundation in your child's mind. She is learning that words are used to plan, to think, to explain. She is figuring out how the English language organizes words into phrases, clauses, and complete sentences. We have found that children from silent families struggle to read. Read, read, read. Read books. Read the same books over and over again. Repetition builds literacy, even as it slowly drives you insane. After you read, ask questions about the story. As soon as your child begins to talk, which will be early if she is this immersed in language, teach her the alphabet. Sing the alphabet. Stencil alphabet letters, both capital letters and lowercase letters. And when she knows the names of the letters, tell her that each letter has a sound. Tell the vowels. And of course, if you create a language-rich home and teach systematic phonics, you will produce readers. Concerning writing, very young children under 2 years of age will pick up a pencil and imitate scribbling. Teach a child from the beginning to hold the pencil correctly. Draw lots of circles and loops in a counterclockwise direction. And of course, you might want to use something other than a pencil. Of course, for children under 2 don't have fine motor skills, they might have to have large sheets of paper, and they might have to use a big pencil. But most printed letters use counterclockwise circles. So draw lots of circles and loops in a counterclockwise direction. Many children naturally want to draw circles clockwise, and this habit will make cursive handwriting difficult, however. And so let the child practice making letters without using a regular pencil. Since, as said before, a young child lacks fine motor maturity, but can form letters and numbers by writing in sand, for example, or writing with a bigger pencil on large sheets of paper. Concerning math, start to make your child mathematically literate in the toddler years, just as you read to the toddler, surrounding him or her with language until they understand that printed words on a page carry meaning. You need to expose her to mathematical processes and language continually. Only then will him or her understand that mathematical symbols carry meanings. Start with counting, such as fingers, toes, eyes, and ears. Once the child is comfortable counting, you can start working on simple math summations during the K through 4 or K through 5 years. Concerning kindergarten, or the childrengarten, ages 4 and 5, a child garden program that combines beginning reading and writing with lots of artwork and active play can be productive. The year before the first 12 primary grades, kindergarten does not teach 5-year-olds to stand in line to wait to go to the restroom, to raise their hand when they want to ask a question, and to walk through a cafeteria without spilling their food. That's primarily what kindergarten does. But most 4-year-olds have microscopic attention spans, immature hand-eye coordination, and high activity levels. Their maturity levels vary widely and differ. One might be ready to read but completely disinterested in writing. Another might enjoy drawing and handwork but show no desire to read. Another one might like to play games but reject anything that has to do with letters and words. And so, in about 30 minutes per day, plus informal teaching as you go about your family life, you can easily teach your child beginning reading, writing, and mathematical concepts. But try not to think of these curricula as schoolwork, or you may find yourself trying to push a reluctant learner or a reluctant preschooler to finish when his or her attention has indeed long since expired its span. Aim to teach reading and mathematics in the same way that you taught the child to speak, to tie their shoes, to dress, to clean up after themselves, by demonstrating the basic skills yourself, practicing them each day, and talking about them as you go throughout your normal routines of life. Concerning reading, a classical education relies heavily on the written word. Your number one goal should be to have your child reading fluently when they start first grade. Reading is easy. Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, of course, thousands of other 18th century pioneer children learned to read with the alphabet and a few good books. Between the ages of 4 and 6, any child who has been read to toddlerhood or from birth can learn to read, and any reasonably literate adult can serve as that tutor for basic phonics skills. You should continue to immerse 4 and 5-year-olds in language, just as you have been doing since their birth. Most public libraries have shelves of books. Children can listen to and enjoy books that are far, far above their vocabulary level. Read yourself. Read together. Start to ask slightly more complex questions about the stories. And by the age of 4, the average child should know his or her alphabet and the sounds that each letter makes. Around the age of 4 and 5, most children are ready to start reading. All reinforcements and aids in this regard create extra mental steps for the learner. Teach her to see an A, think apple. And then if you have a flashcard with the letter B and a picture of a bird on it, the picture, not the letter, becomes a signal to the child to say the B sound. B, B, B for bird. The child goes through an extra step in associating the sound with the written letter. Beginning in first grade, your child will receive a more thorough grounding in the rules of spelling. Your child will receive a more thorough grounding, which are simply phonics rules and which are applied to writing. During the K through 4 or K through 5 years, your goal is simply to get the child reading as quickly and as fluently as possible. A kindergartner does not need to be able to list from memory all the different ways a sound can be spelled. They just need to be able to pronounce words when he or she sees them. Most 5-year-olds are capable of learning to read, which doesn't mean that they'll want to do it. A child who squirms, complains, and protests is simply being a 5-year-old. It is extremely rare to have a child who wants to do something that is unfamiliar, that involves work. And as a matter of fact, a 5-year-old, no 5-year-old can be convinced to set his or her eyes on long-range goals. Concerning writing, many of the phonics programs combine writing and reading. In other words, teach the child the consonants, but do not go on to the next step until the child is able both to read and write such words as sat, cat, fat, and bat. Many children are ready to read long before they have the muscular coordination and capacity to write. Of course, so do reading and writing separately during the child's 4th and 5th years. Teach only one letter, always do a capital letter and a small letter as well, or one number at a time until you've gone through the entire alphabet, both capital and lowercase, and the numbers 1 through 100. When you've worked through the entire alphabet, let the child begin to copy words that you write out for her. Eventually ask her to copy very short sentences. In this way, the 5-year-old not only practices writing, but begins to learn the conventions of written language, capitals for names, and the beginnings of sentences, places between words, periods, and exclamation points, as well as question marks, asking all sorts of questions. And in the first and second grades, you will progress to dictation. But 10 minutes a day, 3 to 5 times per week, is sufficient. Frequency and consistency bring quicker results than prolonged sessions. A brief note on mathematics. Now that the child can count, continue to do daily math by adding and subtracting in the context of everyday family life. Practice counting to 100 by 2s, 5s, and 10s as well. Learn about money, how to tell time, the name of geometric figures, right? And then learn to write the numbers. If you do this, your child will be ready for first grade mathematics. Next, we will cover K through 4 or K through 5, spelling, grammar, reading, and writing. To end with a brief quote from John Milton from his work Of Education, quote, "For their studies, first they should begin with the chief and necessary rules of some good grammar. Next, to make them expert in the useful points of grammar, and withal to season them and win them early to the love of virtue and true labor, ere any flattering seducement or vain principle sees them wandering, some ease and delightful book of education would be read to them." End quote.